They sent us a gadget for checking. Get angry.
It doesn't show it yet in the last.
With their reflection.
Commissioner Thompson, if there's some reason that we get disconnected, we'll call you back, okay?
All right.
Okay, folks, it's 4 o'clock. We'll start the meeting. Any public comment? No? Thank you. Next. Approval of the minutes last month. Stanley and Shannon, have you read them?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. Any comments, questions?
No.
You?
No comments.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any questions? No? The motion has been approved. 3-0. Patty, go ahead with your financial management report.
Okay. For March 8th, 2017, we have March warrants that total $23,723.81. The total for payroll is $16,419.84, which includes chief salary of $4,212.50 and assistant chief shields pay of $2,833.34. There was one event for each of the commissioners and the secretary. The total payout for the volunteers, warrants included, is $11,309. The February financial statements are in your meeting books, and we're looking for a motion to approve the warrants and payroll for March as presented.
Shannon, did you get all that?
Yeah, and I read them last night. I don't have them with me right now, but if she's reading what she sent yesterday, then I'm good with that.
Okay. Stanley, any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Could you, it says UE scope
Do you want to go
for
grab that?
innovation.
Do you want to go grab that?
That'd
So,
just be fun to look at.
Yeah, I'd like to show you. So, Dr. Wing, which is the medical program director of the county, he highly recommended that ALS providing organizations, so those organizations that have paramedics that are providing care at that level, move to a UE scope, which is a video laryngoscope, and we're able to take pictures when we're passing through the airway, and or videotape the entire intubation attempt or successful intubation. So it's for QA/QI purposes, and I'll just let you know.
Chief QA.
Quality improvement, quality assurance program, that if we're, a paramedic's having difficulty intubating, that we're able to maybe go back, can you get the, never mind, go back and review the video and see where the intubation attempts went wrong, or how they can improve their success rates with intubating. So intubation is, we as paramedics, we're capable of passing a tube down into the trachea of an individual, which is your passage to your lungs, and then we will breathe for you in certain emergencies. So this device, there's other video laryngoscopes out there. We are also using what is called a King Vision. It's also another video laryngoscope, but it does not take pictures or record. The other one that we started with, I forget the device's name off the top of your head, it's now $16,000 to purchase one. And it's a bigger box and everything, bigger screen. So this is the UE scope. And What it provides us is, again, the ability, this is the pediatric blade, by the way, so I can innovate pediatrics with this, small children. I wouldn't be able to probably innovate an infant with this because it's too large to put in the airway, so I'd have to go back to a manual approach on that. But we also have an adult blade, which is in the kit. But this device right here, just to let you know, this was $2,900 for purchase. And again, it was his recommendation that any ALS serving organization would obtain these. So who had to obtain these? Bellingham Fire received 5 of them. District 7 in Fernville received 3. Lummi Islands received 1. And Point Roberts received 1. Because we all provide ALS or paramedical level of care to our citizens.
What vehicle do you store it in?
So this is an 858. And if you hit the button once, it takes a picture. If you hold it down, it'll start recording. So if you want to face it to you and take a picture of yourself, then we can download that onto our computer and let you guys take a look. If you want to see how it works actually in an airway, then after the meeting, I'd be happy to bring down our innovation mannequin and actually show you what we see during the innovation and what innovation is all about. So I'll pass this around, and when you guys are done looking at it, then just pass it back down. So that's the cost of the $2,900.
That answers my question, thank you.
Yeah, for the UV scope.
If you pick it up at Nielsen's?
Yeah, so we can get that at like Lowe's. And if anybody drops that during looking at it, you get to pay $2,900.
Yeah.
So that includes you, Judson. So if you're going to drop it. That's it.
Okay, why?
Anything else, Dan?
No, Shannon, have anything?
Shannon, anything from you?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. I make a motion for 2 motions, actually. The first motion to approve the warrants totaling $23,723.81. And the second motion to approve the payroll for $16,419.84. 2 motions?
Sorry, I'll second both.
Thank you. Any more questions? I guess not. No, motion, 2 motions have been approved, 3-0. Thank you. Patty, budget update.
Budget update, yes. With 2 months into the year completed, as of February 28, 2017, we have 82.66% left in budget.
Patty, how does that compare to 12 months ago?
We are just right about status quo.
Same.
Where we were, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, continue. That was it?
That was it.
That was it?
Everything, yes.
Yeah.
Short and sweet.
Okay. You're gonna be here for the whole meeting, right?
Correct.
Chief, correspondence?
I have email correspondence, but nothing relating to district business. I am going to the taxpayers meeting tonight and presenting the year-end financials to those in attendance and asking any questions regarding the district. It's something that I've been doing ever since I came here. I do mid-year financials and year-end financials with the taxpayers, and I've been doing that, I believe, since early 2013, because I came here August, September 2012.
That's good.
You're okay to be at the meeting alone, or you need one of us with you?
No, I'm fine with being there.
Yeah.
And if there's any questions that need to come to the commissioners, then I'll ask those individuals to email you the questions so that can be answered.
Good.
Okie dokie. That was it? Chief? No
That's
more? Why not? Chief's report. Go ahead, Chief.
Do you want to go get that long thing from the school? Didn't we receive that? I'll take back that we did receive something from the school from the children. And I'm going to show you guys that. It's actually in the office, so I'll take back the correspondence. Just, I don't know what it wasn't, I guess it's correspondence, but it's a little thing that was made up from the school kids, so I think it's really nice and the public should be able to see it. I don't think it'll fit in the file.
Okay, I'll take a picture with my
Just to
phone.
let you know, it did probably won't fit the file. So while John's getting that, here he comes. This is from little school kids here. And it says, "Dear Point Roberts Fire Department, thank you for being so kind and taking time to help us with love and respect, Point Roberts Fire."
Oh, sweet.
So we have little eyeballs
You
moving.
gonna
Oh,
frame that?
googly eyes.
Little googly eyes, huh?
You gonna frame that?
No, we'll keep it though. We'll keep it.
Hey, Kate, send me a picture of it.
Okay, yeah, we have cookies here too. Just to let you know.
No, you
Oh, we
don't.
had cupcakes last.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we did, they were yummy.
When I was gone.
Mhm.
It was in honor of your birthday.
Yeah, okay, so are we on Chief's report?
Yeah.
So Chief's report for March 2017, for February 2017. Point of information, a couple things. So just to remind people, we received a grant last year through the Assistance to Firefighters Grants application process, right at $162,700 and some dollars, I believe, or $584. So $162,000 and change. That allowed us to replace our entire SCBA fleet, which are our self-contained breathing apparatus. We have training coming up on the 16th of this month. We have a representative from the company and Scott to come train our people and give us an in-service so we can put those on the apparatus. And so they're sitting in boxes, we're getting them out, we're putting them together. But we need to be fully trained, even though they're still Scott packs, which they're replacing Scott packs. They're very, very similar, but there are some changes, so I want to make sure everybody's well aware of any of the intricacies to be safe inside of a structure fire. So that'll be happening through 16, and hopefully by the end of March, those will be in service for us and the community as well. We have one new member from the community. His name is Jared Rorda, and he is a flight paramedic, someone that I've known for a number of years. His father was actually one of my captains when I was with the Bellingham Fire Departments there. He went to paramedic school. He did his ride time as a student paramedic with Fire District 7, and I was one of his preceptors. Him and his wife have moved here now to Point Roberts. The reason why they moved here is because of his flight paramedic status. He flies out of YVR in Vancouver, and he is stationed out of Arizona, I believe, as a flight paramedic. But he flies all over the world with that, with an RN, with the CCT or critical care tech RN, and then he's the partner to that RN, and they fly critical care patients or medical flights all over the world. So we'll have him. He's able to come into the state of Washington as a paramedic, but he will be decreased to an advanced EMT functioning here in Point Roberts. Because to be a paramedic in Whatcom County, you have to go through the paramedic protocol exam, field time, and then be blessed by our medical program director, Dr. Wayne. And so he won't be doing that because he's a paramedic somewhere else, unless he gets hired in the county by one of the ALS services here. So the state of Washington will bring him in as a paramedic, but they'll lower his ability to function to an advanced EMT level. So he'll be presenting himself here and helping. The knowledge on scene when we don't have a paramedic here, the knowledge on scene because he is a paramedic will greatly assist our EMTs and advanced EMTs. So we're looking forward to that. His wife, Erin, has a background in nursing, and she's also considering the possibility in the future of coming on the organization too, and going through EMT and advanced EMT herself. Update on the AFG applications we currently have out. So to remind everybody, we have an apparatus grant worth $478,000, a regional grant, which I received actually a phone call from FEMA the other day asking for the memorandum of understanding between the 4 districts that are involved. So it's ourselves, District 5, then we have the Linden Fire Departments, Fire District 14, and Fire District 7. That are all part of this regional grant that is hosted by this organization. So she was asking for the MOU, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I've never received a phone call like that. So maybe it's a good thing that they're moving ahead it's worth $330,000 plus. What it's providing us is 8 LifePak 15s. And those are our cardiac monitors. And if you don't know what I'm speaking of, John can go get it and he'll set it up. Each one of those machines is close to $40,000 plus, depending upon what type of diagnostics we get on those machines. So it's very intuitive and important for us to be able to do a quality assessment on our patients here in the community. So this is what the LifePak 15 looks like. It's also a defibrillator. It has a built-in AED, which is an automatic external defibrillator. So anybody that's taken CPR would understand what an AED is. But that device right there, you're looking at 40,000 plus. Again, that one's pretty loaded. We also have a Bluetooth device on that in order to upload the calls that we run. Both the verbal and the ECGs will come across into a computer program in my office, so I can actually go back in and listen to the call, listen to what happened, and see the cardiac arrest in real time. Okay, so hopefully that grant will get provided to us this year. The best thing that we could hope for is all 3 get provided. The third one would be a Lucas device, and I've spoken about that in the past as well. And that's the mechanical chest compression device, something that would do CPR for us when we don't have enough personnel on scene. And that device, I put in a micro grant for that, and it's close to $23,000, $24,000 of a micro grant. You have to be underneath 25, I believe, to fit that category. So those are the 3 grants I have in. It'd be a complete blessing if we received all, because it would be close to $750,000 or more of grants that are saving the taxpayers of this district to have to try to fund sometime in the future as well. And other districts is for a regional grant. So that's what I have on the AFG applications update. I'm hoping that we'll start hearing something in the next month or 2 because the 2017 process will most likely be opening up in August again. And what grants I don't get, I'll be putting forth again for this organization. To the benefit of our emergency responses. 911, how it works. There's a lot of subjectivity out in the community and some issues, some real issues with 911. And prior to this meeting, I heard a couple people speaking of the 911 system. And I want to make sure that the subjectivity is stopped in the community and that people actually understand, and those that will be educating people out in the community about 911, that they fully understand how it works. We have had some difficulties. I'll start off with cell phones. And we have had some documented difficulties with cell phones. Getting a hold of 911, just connecting because of poor signals, or having 911 answer and it not being the right PSAP or correct emergency communications call center that they're being connected to. So I've gotten in contact. We have Whatcom, which is the law enforcement dispatch center in Whatcom County. All 911 calls, when you connect in Whatcom County, go to Whatcom. Whether you need fire, ambulance, or police, they go to one center. There's been some word around this community in the grapevine, speaking to a few people, that they believed the 911 calls actually came directly to the closest fire station. Now, there is a circumstance here when that would happen, and I'll cover that in a little bit later. But if that emergency situation is not in effect, all calls go to Whatcom down in Bellingham. Then what you do is they pick up, they go 911, police, fire, ambulance. Okay, they say something like that. And then you'll see fire because there's a fire. You'll say law enforcement because there's some burglar or domestic or something going on. Or you'll say ambulance because of what happened after the domestic. Now somebody needs an ambulance or someone fell and has a general medical or trauma emergency. Okay? So when that gets transferred, if it's law enforcement, they keep the call and they continue asking you questions. And I think people need to understand that sometimes the questions seem very benign to the caller, but they're very important to the dispatch center in order to get the right allocation of resources to you and the proper level of resources to you. So the dispatcher is going to continue asking you questions, and they're going to be loading that into their computer. At the same time, another dispatcher is getting that information and dispatching whoever needs to be on that call. So don't think that the dispatcher that is taking the information from you is delaying units being dispatched out. That is not the way it is 99% of the time. In Prospect, they usually have 2 or 3 dispatchers on at one time. At night, they would usually have 2, maybe 3. One of them might be on a break, so you may only have 2. One might be on a break, the other one needed to go to the bathroom real quick. So you might get that 0.1% of time that you get that one dispatcher that is trying to handle multiple 911 calls coming in to fire or ambulance. So if it's not a law enforcement call, Whatcom transfers that call to Prospect. Prospect is the Fire and EMS Communications Center, and that's located at Station 1 in Bellingham. Okay, and it's in Bellingham Fire Department Station 1. So if it's a fire or ambulance call, then that gets transferred to Prospect. Prospect will ask you general questions as well, trying to get information to what type of emergency it is and what level of response is necessary for that caller. And again, please understand that one person is usually taking the information, and that information is being relayed at a certain point over to another dispatcher, which is in charge of hitting the buttons to dispatch the units. Okay? So, that's how our system works here. The same system is set up in Canada to I'd have to say, a similar degree. That Whatcom is the dispatch center in Canada, and I think there might be, I don't believe there's a dispatch center. I know Whatcom is the dispatch center for fire, and that might be a law enforcement and do the same thing that they go ahead and transfer that call to the correct PSAP. So we've had some callers that have called from Canadian cell phones in this community. And I will tell you that most likely you're going to get a Canadian PSAP when you do that. Because if you're roaming, it's going to see your area code and most likely drop you into the Canadian system. That may not always be the case, but in the cases that I've heard about, that has been the case. They've been dropped into the Canadian system. We had one caller here that was close to the border. They had a medical emergency. Speaking to the fire manager at Whatcom, they are investigating this one particular call to see if they received anything into their PSAP system. If they didn't, Whatcom has no record of this person connecting into their 911 system. Whatcom, I'm still waiting back to hear if they connected, they backtraced the telephone numbers that this individual has given me, that the call could have came from. I'm still waiting to hear from Whatcom to see if they have anything. But then the fire manager also said that depending on where you're at in the Lower Mainland, they've had Canadian callers actually connect to the PSAP in Victoria. And then they get the Victoria 911 center, and they're trying to tell them that they're actually in Lower Mainland Vancouver. So it's just not a problem here. It seems to be a problem in the Lower Mainland, not only with Canadian phone numbers, but I've tried to call 911 from my cell phone in Canada. When I roam on to TELUS, I get 911 Canadian. Okay, so I get their PSAP center. I don't get connected to Whatcom in Whatcom County. So what I'm trying to do is clean up the misinformation that is being stated out in the public about the 911 system here. 911 calls do not come here. We have nothing to do with that system. It is out of my control. Okay? So don't blame the fire district if you can't connect to 911 or you have a problem with 911, because we have nothing to do with that connection process. It is with your cell phone provider, depending on whether you have AT&T, you roam on to Rogers, TELUS, or Bell, or you have Verizon, and you roam on to Rogers, TELUS, or Bell. I don't know who the sister companies are on the other side. We would hope to have better connectivity here because we have a Verizon tower. I am in constant contact. I've sent a lot of emails. Craig Matthews was the general manager of this area in Washington State. He has moved on to a different position, so now I'm trying to establish a relationship with the other regional manager within Verizon to try to improve not only our service here, but we have cross-border fire chief meetings as well. So we have Canadian fire chiefs and US fire chiefs meeting on a, I believe, bi-monthly basis, and I've been participating in those meetings. And we're all going to try to get together in order to devise a letter to the FCC here in the United States, so the federal level, and also its parent company or its brother or sister on the Canadian side, that's its equivalent, to try to get changes at the parliament level and VC to try to come up with a new agreement, both at the federal levels, I guess, on the Canadian side and the US side, that would allow border towns to have increased wattage or whatever type of electricity they use, that the bleeding over the borders can be a little bit more extensive to a certain distance, so that the Canadian cell phone providers could bleed into the United States a mile, and the United States providers could bleed into Canada for a mile. So those that are right on the border have a better opportunity of being connected to the right 911 dispatch center versus what is happening now. And that's on the table at the Cross-Border Chiefs group. So what I tell people is they need to be calm when they call 911. Please don't exaggerate your situation after you've called 911 to other people in the public. Or, again, blame this fire district because you weren't able to connect or something happened in the 911 process. What I can do is if I hear about that information, then I can try to backtrace with the different organizations and actually try to find out, if possible, who you actually connected to. This last caller was told that it would take an hour to an hour and a half to get an ambulance here, is what the 911 center that they supposedly connected to told them. And they said it would have to come from Bellingham. So in my belief, that is a Canadian dispatch center that doesn't understand the services we provide here. And they thought it was going to have to come from Bellingham. Whatcom would never say that. Whatcom would never provide that information to them. Prospect would never provide that information to us because they're dispatching us. Prospect is hitting the button and we're getting paged out on our pagers. So in my assumption, and I don't know if it's a true assumption yet, but most likely he got connected into a Canadian dispatch center. And that Canadian dispatch center did not understand where Point Roberts was, or understand that he was actually in the United States regarding this emergency. And he may have pinged that he was actually in Tawasin. Does that make sense? So they can triangulate your cell phone signal. And it'll take the 3 closest towers and then triangulate to where you are in the center of where those towers are. And normally they can get pretty close. The last information I have is with 150 feet or so, they can get to the cell phone signal, but it takes time to do that. So if he's connected to a tower in Canada, he's going to connect to a 911 center in Canada. My biggest push would be that anybody that lives here has a landline. And they pay for the very basic landline that Whitby Telecom offers, so they don't have that issue. I was speaking of when would it be connected directly to this fire station. So if you remember, last year, I believe, we had 3 outages, all in very close sequence, that we dropped internet, we dropped 911 at the same time because of a problem with Whitby. It was within their connectivity. One was caused by a line that was cut from one of their partners up in Canada, and it took out our services here along with other parts of Whitby Telecom. Another problem was a problem down south. One of their motherboards crashed, as far as I understand, which took out service on Whidbey Island in certain areas, all the way up the Puget Sounds, and hit Point Roberts too. So we worked out through those processes, and people remember we got on to the siren. We were alerting people over our loudspeakers that they weren't going to be able to dial 911, and they needed to report the emergency directly to the fire hall. They couldn't report 911 over the internet either, because you can use your computer as a 911 console to get a hold of law enforcement. And it became a very big thing for our community, as well as the other communities that were affected with this. So we went out in the neighborhoods, we drove the neighborhoods on our loudspeakers, and we're trying to get as many people contacted as possible that these situations were in place. You wouldn't believe the negativity we heard from some of the community members after we did that, because it bothered them that we were out there letting people know that 911 was not working. Internet was also down, not allowing them to go through 911 on the internet. Therefore, they needed to try to get to the fire hall to report an emergency. So working with Whidbey after these incidents, and there was two, possibly three of those that happened in pretty close. One was like within a couple days of each other. It went down, they got it back up, and within a few days, it went down again. So after that, they have put now, for better wording, a fail-safe in place for our community that if 911 goes offline and it is reported, and we understand that a 945 number that decides to dial 911, that attempt will come directly to the fire hall. And that's the only time that your 911 call from a landline will be coming to the fire hall, is if that situation ever happens again. Meaning 911 goes offline from Whidbey and they notify us. Well, when we get notified, we will staff the station until that problem is resolved. Okay, so we can get any of those phone calls for assistance in our community. So before I move on, does anybody have any questions about that? Yes?
If a person does phone 911 and suspects we're connected to Canada, what can they do? Or how do we determine whether we're with Whatcom or we're Canada?
So Ecom communicates with Whatcom all the time. Okay, so they definitely have a transfer to Whatcom, or a way to transfer callers to Whatcom. It doesn't currently sound like they have a guideline or policy in place to train their dispatchers from speaking to one of their policy people. And that's something hopefully that I'll be a part of, helping establish that policy within Ecom. So the fire dispatchers, the law enforcement dispatchers, and the BC ambulance dispatchers, because when that caller calls in and they go fire, police, ambulance, and they go ambulance and they get connected over to BC ambulance's dispatch center, then BC ambulance is going to need to understand that they're in the United States and they need to be transferred to Whatcom. But if one of the dispatchers have never heard Whatcom before and don't understand that it's located in Bellingham, Washington, they're not going to know what to do. So I'm not saying that's where the disconnect is. I do believe there may be some objective information or factual information within that. But hopefully we can move forwards. So when a caller does hit a Canadian tower and gets connected into Canadian PSAP Center, that PSAP Center, regardless of where it is, Victoria, Lower Mainland, will understand that if they say they're in Point Roberts, Washington, number one, they'll understand where that is located and why they may be coming up in Canada, even though they're in Point Roberts, Washington. And two, that they understand the request to be transferred to Whatcom or Bellingham 911, or 911 into the United States, which the closest center would be Bellingham. Yeah.
One thing I have learned from Verizon, because I called them on this once, when we have our phone on, if we have Verizon, it says whether we're connected to Verizon or Rogers when we get to certain areas on the point. To connect to that tower, all we have to do is hit star 228.
Star 228.
It will connect.
Okay, so that's something I didn't know. So just to, in case the public doesn't hear you, when you have Verizon as a customer?
Yes.
Okay, so Verizon customers can hit star 228 to connect to this tower if they see themselves roaming over to a Canadian provider.
And there's a little recording and it says just wait, and then it tells you when your service is connected and you see it change on your phone.
Okay.
And
all right, that's
by
wonderful
doing
news.
that, it'll happen if you're down around the Saltwater Cafe. They
Yeah.
look into Rogers, and there's different places on the corner.
Yeah.
And when I get back home, I manually check every time to see that I'm reconnected to Verizon.
Okay, well, thank you for that information.
Yeah, it's a
The other thing is depending on the style of phone that you have, you can go into your settings and you can go into an advanced call setting. And with Verizon, like I have an iPhone 6, you can go into your settings, go into your phone icon, and go down to the bottom and it says advanced calling. And you'll click on that, and then you'll see on the next page, you should see Wi-Fi calling or Wi-Fi setup, something like that on the next page. If you have Samsung phones, things like that, it may be a different process. But I know with iPhones, that is a process. And Wi-Fi, what does that mean? So if the signal is too low from the tower, it actually connects into your home Wi-Fi, or I connect into saltwater, or any Wi-Fi that I have the password to, Starbucks, let's say, and it'll go into a Verizon Wi-Fi calling mode. What I understand is Wi-Fi calling is a thing of the future. That calling is going to be made over Wi-Fi in the majority of the places versus over the towers that you see here today. Or the Wi-Fi will be broadcasted off the towers for the cell phone provider. So those are the information that I've received from Verizon speaking to the general manager within that. So Wi-Fi calling, check to see if your phone allows that, and then you'll have to connect when you connect into your home. You'll actually see, for Verizon, you'll see, I think a little VW, and then it will say Wi-Fi. So you'll know you're actually on Wi-Fi calling versus a true tower type of perspective. Yes.
iPhone 6 minimum.
iPhone what?
6 minimum.
iPhone 6 minimum is what it takes. So again, the Samsung phones, any other phones, I'm not sure if that will be allowed. I'm sure there's an advanced calling setting, but you'd have to contact your provider to figure that out. So that's another way that people who have Canadian cell phones, okay, Canadian cell phones or U.S. cell phones that seem to be roaming, specifically for the U.S. people that are roaming into Canada, that they can connect to their Wi-Fi at home, and therefore they should be able to connect to Whatcom when they dial 911 from that cell phone, because it's going to pick up this Verizon tower.
Thank you.
Yes.
You might have answered it. So can Ecom transfer calls to?
Yes, I answered that already. So Ecom and Whatcom communicate all the time. Okay? They communicate with each other. Do they have a button that says transfer?
I guess that's what I'm.
That I don't know. I don't know that information. They're saying that they communicate with Whatcom all the time. So they get a hold of each other all the time, right? Because we have border incidents that we are contacting the Canadian services, the U.S. services are trying to work back and forth together. So yes, they do have that connectivity, but it doesn't seem like it's being understood or used all the time to benefit those callers who are here in Point Roberts. But again, I want to make sure that everybody understands. Your cell phone carrier and 911 issues has nothing to do with this district. Okay? It has nothing, we don't control any of that. And I've heard in the public that this district is being blamed for people not being able to get a hold of 911. And that is very destructive information to be saying about this fire district because it's not true in any aspect. So I'm trying to help people that are spreading those things in this public to put a negative light on this organization that we're not doing something or we're not following through on helping people connect to 911. That's something that is outside my ability because that is a system that has nothing to do with this organization. There's multiple factors with the providers that you have, the towers that you're connecting to, where they're bouncing to, and then how you connect when you make a general phone call from a cell phone provider. So please understand that if 911 goes down and internet goes offline, it doesn't have to be both. If 911 goes down with Whidbey, we have created that failsafe that if you try to dial 911 from a 945 number, it is going to be directed directly here to the fire hall. And once we are notified by Whidbey that that has happened, which has taken up to an hour, okay, sometimes from Whidbey to notify me or my assistant chief that 911 is offline, we're working on speeding that process up too. We will be staffing this hall until it is reconnected. So you can be assured that you'll receive 911 response once we are notified and staffing the hall to receive those phone calls. Okay?
So is there some way that we could immediately take out an advertisement in the All Points Bulletin and keep it simple, 3 sentences about when you dial off of a Canadian cell phone to request that you be transferred into Whatcom or Point Roberts or where you're at. I think we should do this. This is money well spent.
Okay.
Should go into All Points Bulletin, and of course we have Point Interface. Again, it can't be a long explanation. I mean, we've just gone through, how many minutes of IT, and most of us don't understand it all.
Yeah.
But stating when people use a Canadian cell phone, they're going to have to request.
Or any cell phone.
Yeah, really
Any
any
cell
cell phone. Canadian or US, they're both having issues. They're both having issues. And I can understand how frustrating it is for that individual making that phone call. I have sympathy for them, right? And I want to do what I can by reaching out to the different PSAP centers to have them put things in place that will help all people along our border with BC, whether it's here, Idaho, Wyoming, or wherever it's at, that we can come up with solutions that will benefit either citizenship, Canadian or American citizenship, that they can be well assured that if they call 911, they're going to be connected to the right center. We've received calls from people that are in Vancouver that get a phone call from someone here on Point Roberts. Their family member's having an emergency, and for some reason they don't have a landline here at their cabin or their home. And that person's calling from downtown Vancouver. They call the station directly and let us know that, hey, someone's having an emergency at such and such address. Can you please respond? And we ask them to hang up and dial 911. Because we don't always have a person here at the hall. We're driving out amongst the community. During the summer, we're always out in the community, and someone most likely will not be here. But I can't tell you how many members of the community actually dial this number to report an emergency. That is wasting valuable time, because
Let's get this published.
we have to then actually pick up our phone and dial 911. To report the emergency. We actually dial the back number to our fire dispatch because we know it's a fire or medical emergency. But then we have to put in that information, so it delays us from leaving and getting to you if you decide not to pick up your phone and dial 911 directly. It doesn't matter what it's for. If you need any services from this organization, whether emergent, non-emergent, you need help getting off the ground, whatever, even if you don't think it's an emergency, but you know we will help you with that, then you need to dial 911. It's that way anywhere else in the county. But for some reason, people call here, and then they say, well, I left a message on your voicemail, that I was having a medical emergency. If you need to get a hold of the sheriff, you don't call the compound and leave a voice message on their answering machine. You dial 911. And that's the education that needs to be placed in the public.
Okay,
I'm
so
going to do that.
Can I've got a couple questions. So, who was the woman who spoke about having Verizon and doing the star 228 or whatever that was?
Jolene.
Okay, and then I think it's really important to point out that it's not just Point Roberts that has.
Well, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. I'm going to call you back. Okay, we'll call her back. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's not only Point Roberts that is having the difficulty. People have this difficulty in Blaine, Sumas, Kendall. It's all along the border that they're having these issues. So please understand that we're not the only area that's having these difficulties. But we're trying to work towards a solution.
Hi.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. So, you just kind of alluded to, I think, Wyoming or some other states. I mean, we have a pretty long border with Canadians, and I'm assured that we're not the only people that have this communication problem with 911 and overlapping the border, and even state borders have these issues. So, as Dan was talking about going through the All Point Bulletin, I was thinking also that you do a fireside chat every now and again, and it can be included in that, or we can include it in our monthly newsletter. So, I know that the All Point Bulletin sometimes costs a lot of money to run an ad, no matter how big it is. I'm just wondering if there's some other methods that we can get this information out.
Absolutely. I think an ad is a good idea to try that avenue. My Chiefs Chat, Fireside Chat, is also a good avenue, and I publish that online with the All Point Bulletin. It is expensive to put something in their paper for that monthly paper. An ad that size would probably run us $200 to $300, depending on where they decide to place that. So I think there's good avenues that we can come up with that we can all agree upon that would be good educational opportunities for this community. That would help those, calling 911 to truly understand what they need to be doing or trying to do, and help the operator understand where they are and get to the correct emergency communications center.
Yeah, I wonder if we could put stuff out, like at the library, at the community center, even at the market, maybe the post office or something, about what happens when you dial 911, because I mean, it's clear not everybody reads the All Point Bulletin, so spending $200 or $300 on an app 1 month, you gotta pick the right month. And if we have like a flyer or something that is simple and 1 page or something, we can just print that off our own printer and hand it out, or...
Yeah, I agree. I want to go back to that there's been information given out to the public that 911 doesn't work. And that has been directly said to the public that 911 doesn't work. And somehow that is our fault. I want to make it clear that we have nothing to do with 911. 911 is working unless it goes offline, okay? And then we're notified and we do the best we can to notify this community that it's offline, that now we have the fail-safe in place. So I will correct anybody in the public that I hear stating that 911 doesn't work. What doesn't work is the backside once you're connected. And the confusion either the dispatchers are having or the lack of communication the caller is providing the dispatcher to actually get a real view of where they are and where they need to be connected to. That's where it seems it's broken at this time. So again, I have sympathy for those callers that have been frustrated with 911, but again, please don't blame this district. We are working with our partners to try to find a solution. We'll help educate you from this point forwards. And if you have any questions, my office is always open.
All right. Yes, go ahead.
This reinforces that if someone has a complaint, they should call Christopher and discuss it and get the facts before these rumors go out that are so destructive.
Oh, no, that doesn't work that way. This is point over.
Yeah, but I think that she's got a good point, because I think when you get information out there like that, it doesn't just reflect poorly on the department that has absolutely nothing to do with it, but it really also undermines people's well-being in the community, and thinking that, you can pick up a phone and dial 911 and get services, and then having someone tell you, oh no, you can't do that in Point Roberts. I get kind of tired of, people dissing Point Roberts in general, and I won't stand for anybody dissing the fire district, but I think that's pretty clear. We got some avenues and we can go forward now.
Chief, if you do any advertising or if you don't put anything in the paper, don't forget Point Interface. They have the same, if not more, leadership than...
Yeah, anything else? Two
leadership. I mean,
The secret is not a fireside chat.
No.
The secret is this one topic in 3 sentences.
Yeah.
Bold. And that's all, no more.
With Point Interface, you can repeat yourself every month. It doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it has been done, and we'll do everything we can. It's a dynamic process because those people that are having difficulties, I need to hear about those incidents. I need dates, times, your phone numbers, so I can give that information to Ecom or Whatcom so they can backtrace to see who ended up with the phone call. If neither one of them ended up with the phone call, then they're going to send that information to Victoria, okay, and see if that emergency communications received that call. If you said that you connected into a emergency communication center and none of them are able to trace your numbers back, then we have nowhere to go at that point, because they record all calls. So if they find this phone call from this previous event, I'll be listening to the tapes of that phone call to see or try to help establish where things went wrong with the 911 connection on that.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, sorry that took long, but there's some destructive information out there in the public, and it's being construed through subjectivity, and no one comes into my office. How I heard about this was 8 days after the incident, and I heard through the grapevine from 2 other people that this person was upset that this happened. Yet,
Well, if
I was
that
here.
person willing to come to you, then you can't sit and walk around the point that they're
Well, I know.
okay.
And they didn't come, but then they start the rumor mill,
All right.
okay?
All right,
And it's destructive. Okay, so
Thank
to
you.
continue my chief's officer report, we're going to get the tank repaired April 3rd. So engine 5802 is going to go in the shop. We have a burn on the 1st of April that we're going down to Bellingham to put one of our shifts through live burn training. The 3rd, that's going into the shop at Pro Fire, and we hope to get it back by month's end. It'll be a 2 to 3 week process. That's going to run about $25,000, and that's to replace the 2,000 gallon tank that is in the 26-year-old fire apparatus at this point. So that'll be happening. Nothing else to report on the apparatus. We increased in membership. We lost a member, and we increased in a couple other ones. Again, Jared Werda is coming on within this community. TJ Jackson will be coming on as another community resident. He's 19 or 20 years old. He's just going through our fire academy at this point. He just finished it. I'm having interviews with the new candidates this coming up Sunday. And if he does well within those, then he'll be coming on this organization as another community responder. I'll be sending him most likely to fire school in April out of Texas. And then after that, hopefully he's interested in EMT and moving on up within the medical response that we have. So I'll have another member here within Point Roberts. So 48 members, 26 Canadian, 12 Point Roberts, and 10 county. 6 paramedics, 17 EMTs, of which 10 are advanced EMTs. Not all live here on Point Roberts. We have 6 advanced EMTs that are in our response area. We have 2 ambassadors and 40 firefighters amongst that personnel of 48. Volunteer hours in February, 2,654. Volunteer payroll, if all volunteers were being paid, 11,733. Combined chief hours, I have 114.5. Assistant Chief Shields had 104, with a total of 218.5 chief hours. Total calls in the month of February, 17. We had 7 EMS calls. We had 3 no transports. We transported 3 patients to St. Joseph's Hospital with our ambulance, and we had 1 transfer to Medic 45 out of Ferndale. We had 3 public service calls. We had 2 smoke detector installations, and we had 1 home check. We had 7 fire classifications, 3 unpermitted or illegal outdoor burns. We had 4 false alarms in the month of February. That concludes my chief's report.
Thank you, Chief.
I think that's the longest one I've provided.
It is.
So I
So hang
apologize.
on a second, so you had 114 hours last month with what, a week of vacation at the beginning?
That's correct.
Okay, I just want to clarify that.
Did you take vacation? John took vacation. He was gone for over
5 days.
He was gone as well, so that's where his hours are at 104.
Okay,
Shannon, you
kind of
should.
slack in there.
Sorry.
Shannon, you there?
Yeah,
Okay, when the chief goes on vacation, when he goes to Cabo, he works part-time for the Cabo Fire Department. That's why you get all these hours.
Yeah, I wish. That'd be something.
Okay. That was the end of the chief's report. Unfinished business.
I've got 2 things. Anybody else?
All right, then you keep to the point, Shannon.
I'm going to go quickly, so don't cut me off. I want to apologize for letting my temper get the best of me at our last meeting. I got angry when we were discussing the hospital district sign with Commissioner Knowles, and I went to their last meeting to discuss other things and to apologize directly to her in person. Without a doubt, I should have handled myself better, and I again apologize for that. Secondly, it was raised at their meeting by Candy Harper, one of their commissioners, that she just kind of brought it up on the side. Golly, could we have maybe a sign that says Point Roberts Clinic and then directly under that Unity Care? And I said, I don't know, you need to come to the meeting. Then of course I thought about it overnight and I sent them a really lame little mock-up of a sign. And Elaine has been in contact with Unity Care and has heard back from Des, I think his last name is Scooby or Scobie. He is the CEO or president or the head honcho at Unity Care. And he took my idea and did a quick little riff on it. So basically the sign would be just a 3-piece sign, very, very simple, maybe a little bit of color to set it off from the greenery. And I thought perhaps we could put it one on each driveway at an angle or perpendicular to the road rather than the way our sign currently is, which is parallel to our building and the road. And unless you're looking for a sign, you don't see it because it just is kind of part of the greenery. So my 3C sign is quite similar to the one that we currently have, but it would just say 2030 Benson Road, Point Roberts Fire, or Whatcom County Fire District 5, and then have one or two of our logos on it. And then underneath that, it would say Point Roberts Clinic, Unity Care Northwest, and have their logo on it. I do not know how much they were going to pay for the sign. The hospital district was going to foot the bill for the sign that Unity proposed, or that they proposed with Unity last year to us. So I said, well, since you were going to spend that money anyway, why don't we just look at this simpler sign and see if we can figure out a way to make it work, but keep it simple and keep it, I didn't mention this part, but, they may move at some point, or Unity Care might change, who knows. So make their part of the sign potentially removable without ruining the whole sign. So I don't know if we want to talk about that. We're at 5 o'clock. I did send you guys the pictures that he came up with, and I did talk to the chief about it, and I know, and I apologize for bringing this up because, Bill was clear last month that we were done with the topic, but this was brought up by Candy, and it makes sense to me, and it preserves what I think is important to preserve, and it allows them some space, basically. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Shannon. Stanley, any comments?
No comments.
None.
No, the sign needs design from what I have sitting in front of me. I suppose it's possible that we could go ahead with something like this. I do not see where it should be at our expense.
No, I agree.
But it needs a little work design-wise.
Well, that's just me, I actually figured that out as my dinner was ready and cooked, and I wanted to get it out to them as quickly as possible. That's basically just taking text boxes in Word and just putting stuff in it. And it's just a rough idea. I didn't know if they would bite at it at all. And, if they have a designer or, I don't know. I just didn't know if anybody would be okay with it whatsoever. And they seemed amenable to work with it as a very simple design.
Okay, thanks. Thank you for offering your apologies, Shannon, that was nice. I've given this a lot of thought to this sign thing. I've also given the following a lot of thought, that we are a landlord and we have one tenant in the same building. And we can all maintain our stiff attitude and be, on the surface, be nice to each other and hate each other under the surface. I think it is time that we throw past differences away and that we start a new beginning and a fresh new beginning, and that we behave towards each other as a mutual respect, not necessarily friendship, that's completely personal, but that we trust each other, and in the same time we maintain a business-like relationship with our tenant. We may have been a little harsh on the hospital district. We may have a little stiff, as I said before. Maybe we have to change a little bit. Maybe both parties have to change a little bit. And if that is the case, I'd be all in favor of that.
Is Robin there this morning?
Yeah, Robin is here.